This is your science NCERT textbook for. In this chapter, you will know about the objects around us, to learn about the properties of materials, and to understand the importance of classification. Before we go further, it's very important to know about some new terms. Classification, method of grouping things with similar properties together. Hard, objects which cannot be compressed. Insoluble materials, materials which do not dissolve in water. Lustrous objects, objects which shine. Matter, anything that occupies space and has mass. Non-lustrous objects, objects which do not shine. Opaque objects, objects through which we are not able to see at all. Soft, objects which can be compressed. Solubility, property of dissolving in water. Soluble materials, materials which dissolve in water. Translucent objects, objects through which we are able to see but not clearly. Transparent objects, objects through which we are able to see clearly. Now come to the topic. When we look around, we find ourselves surrounded by a number of objects. You can see there are a number of objects are here. Some of these different objects are made from a number of different materials, while others are made using the same material. For example, both desks and chair are made from wood, while pen and dustbins are made using plastics. The materials from which an object is made depends on its properties. But why do we need to group the objects? There are many reasons. Number one, to save time to find the object. Two, it saves our energy. Number three, grouping or sorting makes the place well arranged and beautiful. Four, convenience to store. We often group objects in order to store similar objects together in order to make locating them easier in the future. Number five, convenience to study. We also group objects so that it becomes easy for us to study their features as well as patterns. Materials, the matter from which an object is made is called material. Example, glass, steel, and wood. Classification, the process of sorting and grouping materials according to some basic similarity is called classification. Object can be classified on different bases, that is shape, material used, and uses. Basis of grouping. Material can be grouped on the basis of similarity and differences in their property. Different types of material have different properties, such as appearance, hardness, solubility, density, transparency, etc. What are the properties of material? We choose to make an object depending on its properties and the purpose for which the object is to be used. So we should know some properties of materials. Number one, appearance. Include lustrous or non-lustrous. Number two, hardness. Include soft or hard. Number 3, solubility includes soluble or insoluble. Number 4, density include ability to float or sink in water. Transparency include transparent, translucent or opaque. So let us discuss one by one. First of all, appearance. This is the luster of gold. But what is luster? Materials can be classified on the basis of how they look or appear. Some materials have luster, which is a soft glow to them, while others are dull. Materials that have such luster can usually be classified as metals. Examples include gold, copper, aluminium, iron, etc. Usually, a metal loses its luster after some time due to the action of moisture and air on it. And this is called corrosion of metals. Come to the next property, that is hardness. This is the picture of cotton and this is picture of sponge and this is iron rod. So materials can also be classified on the basis of hardness. Materials that can be easily compressed or scratched are called soft. Examples are cotton, sponge. Materials that cannot be scratched and are difficult to compress are termed as hard. Examples are iron, wood. Next property, that is solubility, soluble and insoluble. Materials that can be dissolved in water upon stirring are said to be soluble materials. Example, sugar and salt can be dissolved in water. Materials that cannot be dissolved in water, no matter how much we stir them, are said to be insoluble materials. For example, stones and clothes cannot be dissolved in water. Not just solid materials, even liquids have the property of being soluble or insoluble. For example, lemon juice can easily dissolve in water, while oil does not dissolve and deposits as a thin layer on the uppermost layer of water. So you can see sugar plus water makes sugar solution. Sand do not dissolve in water, no solution. Some objects can sink and some objects can float. Why it is so? This is because of density. Density. There are some insoluble material which sink to the bottom of the surface when put in water. You will observe, while some other floats on water. It is all because of density of a substance. What is density? Density is defined as mass present in per unit volume of the substance. Then which object will sink and which object will float on water? Object with higher density than water will sink. A coin is made up of metal. Density of metal is higher than water. That's why coin sinks in water. The objects with lesser density than water will float on water. For example, leaves and corks float on water, while rocks and coins sink in water. You can see the picture, something float, some things sink. Less density float, more density sink. You can memorize like this. Objects that can sink and float. You can tell the answer. Take a glass full of water and put something like a needle, plastic pen or pencil. Answer the following question. Will a needle float or sink? Will a plastic pen float or sink in water? Will a pencil float or sink in water? Now, next property is transparency. It is categorized into three, that is transparent, translucent and opaque. First of all, transparent object. Objects or material which can be seen through are said to be transparent objects. For example, glass, clear water, and some plastics can be seen through and are hence transparent material. Next, translucent objects. Objects and materials through which things can be seen but only partially are called translucent objects. For example, butter paper and frosted glass are some examples of translucent objects. This is frosted glass and this is butter paper. Next, opaque objects. Objects which cannot be seen through are known as opaque objects. For example, metal, wood, and cardboard are some examples of opaque material as you cannot see through them. You can see the picture of wood and this is iron rod. Means it is a metal. This is an example of opaque object.
An assignment has been given to you for chapter sorting materials into groups. Kindly solve it and clear your doubts. Thank you for watching video. I hope you have understood chapter sorting materials into groups.